What's up, guys? Nate Harvey, elitefts.com, equipment sales and coach. Today we're going to go over some mistakes that I'm commonly seeing on Posterior Chain Developer here, both the glute ham raise movement and the glute pendulum movement. I'm seeing this with a lot of young athletes, and we see a lot on Instagram too, kind of. Foot position is very important in this. What we'll see a lot of people will do is they'll kind of go duck foot, I call it, and or their heels will come together. To properly train your hamstrings on this machine, in my opinion, not that you can't do this once in a while, but I think the majority of your training should be feet straight ahead and ankles or heels apart. The reason for that is if I'm here all the time, I'm also doing that. A lot of power athletes and sport athletes in general, when we squat or deadlift, our toes are going to turn out a little bit. We're kind of hitting outer hamstring and glute, which is good. But on our accessory movement, we should change that up where my feet are straighter and I can hit more of a complete stretch or training effect on my hamstrings. Okay, if I'm always turned out like this, you can't start to develop problems in your hip and stuff. So we need to get a little bit of internal rotation on some of our accessory work and have our feet straight ahead. Also, part of the glute's job is to abduct the foot away from our center line, right? So if I'm here, that part of the glute is not being trained. So when I'm doing my pendulums or my glute ham raise, I want to have my heels apart. And then again, if my toes are out on the GHR movement, I'm going to be bringing in a ton of lateral hamstring work, which we are already kind of strong there, so we don't need to overdo that. So again, we're going to go back to a neutral foot setting. So just a quick demonstration. I'm going to hop in. And another thing, keep your knees straight. A lot of people will bend your knees on this. The whole point of this is to stretch out and traction your low back. If my knees are bent, I'm not going to get that stretch. So knees straight, my toes are up towards my shin. A lot of times you'll see the toes go out like you're doing a calf raise. Try not to do that. Again, we're trying to get a stretch on here. So heels are apart, knees are straight, feet straight ahead. Get a stretch and keep them there. Most of the time, that's just an issue of cueing. If the people you're working with can't get that fixed with some simple cueing, then maybe pull some weight off, because they are tapping when their feet are duck-footed out or toes out. They are avoiding a weakness, but usually the cueing will fix it. If not, take some weight off. So if I'm going to do my glute hams, again, a lot of times what we'll see is here. Right, so my toes are pointed way out, and then you'll even see the knees kind of flare out sometimes too. We're trying not to do that. Keep your toes straight ahead. Another mistake, get your heels up on the pad. It's there for a reason. Hook your heels in, okay? Then I'm just coming down, pull, all right? Keep your feet straight. Now on this one, a lot of times this is more of a strength issue. You will see kids that won't be able to fix it with the cueing, so something you could do, you can attach a band from behind to assist the movement. You can grab a bamboo bar or PVC pipe to put out in front and they can push off of. We do have handles on here that you can push off of, so there's different variations you can do to help keep them with their feet neutral and straight ahead. Shout out to Rob Golobeck. I stole these from him, one of our former throwers at UB, all-star athlete, all-American. Dude's an all-star in the gym now. Take this variation. To me, this is a perfect movement you can do with your athletes. Typically, when we get in here, we're going to hook this around my ankle, right, with both feet, and just pull back and do our standard movement. What he did is hook this on his toe. And at first, I thought there's no way this works. This is heresy in the strength world, right, to go and use your toe on this one. But I tried them. So I'm going to kind of step up, and you got to keep tension on there. And I'm going to pull through my toe and squeeze my glute just like I'm doing a normal movement, right? But for some reason, what that does, instead of just getting on your glute and low back, it's really lightened up my inner hamstring. So to me, that's a great accessory movement for your athletes. Or even if you're just a lifter, another variation to kind of hit some different areas. But to me, for an athlete, running and jumping and pushing the toe through the ground. Makes perfect sense. Today we're going to go over our Pro model back raise, 45-degree back extension. I always encourage people to go with this model. This is the one I have myself. To me, the big advantages of this are the adjustability on our pads and the wide foot plate and the adjustability of the roller pads. With those adjustments, there are a million different variations you can do on this. And to me, for the investment, a couple hundred extra bucks above our other models, it's a no-brainer. So today we're going to go through some of those variations I've been doing in my garage to try and get my hamstrings back to where they should be. Went through a period where I kind of got away from the gym a little bit and been stuck in my garage over the last couple of years, which has been great. But in that process, I didn't have GHR and one of these to kind of keep my hamstrings up to par. In my opinion, you can do RDLs and all those things are great, but for whatever reason, these machines, for me personally, have really helped my strength. So I'm kind of climbing out of a deficit and working over a little hamstring injury too in that process. And we'll kind of show you some of the things that I've been doing to kind of get over that hump. The first one is actually a Nordic Curl variation.
Do you want to get that again, my bud?
No, you're right. The first variation we'll go over is kind of a Nordic Curl. I guess you could call it variation on the machine. GHR, not really, but it does kind of mimic that movement. Mimics knee flexion is what I'm getting to. These are tough, whether you're not injured or not. All I'm going to do is, now you can adjust these to be harder or easier. Like I said, I'm in kind of a rehab phase right now, so I'm going to have these pads up a little higher. If you wanted to make these harder, I would drop it down a little bit, okay? And I'm also going to show you how to use a PVC pipe. I have a tsunami bar here that I'll use. But basically, I'm going to get in. You're going to drop your thigh pads all the way down, okay? Hook my heels. So I'm in there. But what I'm going to try to do is, I'll get this kind of posted in the ground so I can use it for leverage. But throughout the movement, I need to keep a straight line from my knee to my shoulder. Okay, and I'm going to try to keep my hips kind of tucked to the front. I don't want my butt sticking way out the back or my back overly arched, okay? With my back overly arched, I know we try to do that when we squat and deadlift, but on this movement, I'm trying to isolate my hamstring, so I don't want to pull with my back, so I'm trying to take that out of it, okay? So I'm going to tuck myself in, keep your chin down. I'm going to straighten my leg. My toes are dug into the plate, and then just pull up, back up to my start, okay? I'm using my hands as least amount of possible on this. All right. Now with these, it is a shorter range of motion, so to make it harder, I can mess with the tempo and go slower. And a big thing is make sure your knee straightens out. A lot of people will do these and not straighten their knee all the way out. Okay. So this is probably the easiest variation. The next one you can go to is just kind of spot yourself with your hands on their thigh pads here. So I'm here. I give myself just a little push out of the bottom. Okay. So straight. A little bit of push out of the bottom. All right. The next variation, which I'm not going to demonstrate because I'm not there yet, but I can grab a band, throw it on our band pegs, hop back in, and I can go and just go over my neck. Okay. And obviously you can adjust, go up to a heavier band as your strength goes up. So those are the leg curl variations. Some more adjustability and different variations you can do on here is your stance width, okay? On any basic back machine, you can do a close stance, which obviously we can do on that. What I like about this one, for most people, you want to drop the pads all the way down on this. When we do this machine, we want the crease of our hip at the top of the pads here. Okay, a lot of people you'll see do this, and the pad's all the way up on their stomach. We're trying to pivot at the hips. Okay, so the pad's got to be low. And then what I can do, throw my feet all the way out to the side here, lower myself in, and then just do my standard back raise. How that's different is, we know wider feet typically train the hips a little bit more. So when I do that movement, it's hitting up into kind of hamstring origin and glute insertion. So kind of up higher in the glute and hamstring area, as opposed to if I have my feet in closer, it's going to be more of the the entire length of the hamstring, more down in the belly a little bit. Okay, so that's a great variation. Another variation you can do, along with varying your stances, I can go on my toes. We talked about this a little bit today on a few different things. But instead of having my heel on the foot plate, I'm going to run the pressure through my toes and do the same movement. Okay, I can go wide, I can go close, same thing. Again, by digging my toes in, I'm getting a little bit of calf activation. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure, but I'm getting more medial hamstring, okay? Which is good for everybody, right? We talked about being wide all the time. We want to develop all of our hamstring, not just the outer edges of it. Some more variations that we can do. Everybody loves Bulgarian split squats, right? Love them, hate them. This is great. I got my rollers back here. I can post up, throw a dumbbell in this hand, throw a chain over my neck, put a band under my foot and over my neck. And with myself, I have this hamstring injury, so things are a little squirrely in the bottom of the movement. But with this, I'm here and I can have my hand to kind of spot in case something does go wrong, okay? I'm not going to use that unless I have to. Big thing on these Bulgarian split squats that I see messed up a lot, people will have their foot too close to the back and they're going straight down and their knees are shooting out in front. You need to step out enough so when I go down, I'm going to push my hips back and my knee's almost directly over my ankle in the bottom. So what I'm doing right now is, by not having my knee forward, I'm taking stress off my quad and loading my glute and hamstring. But with having this wider stance with my foot out in front, I'm also getting a really good stretch on my back leg hip flexor right now. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone there. And that's the Pro Model back raise. Lots of variations you can do on here. Another variation we can do is a single leg back extension. It's a good idea to start with your thigh pads a little higher on this. You can go real low with these thigh pads and really crank your hamstrings, but with only having one leg in there, move it up a little bit so it is right in the crease of your hip. So I'm going to move this up. And you could even go a little higher if you need to. So all I'm going to do is pull one leg out, make sure my base leg's hooked in, and you can have your off leg kind of planted on that plate for a little bit of security and kind of, you know, safety, so you're not floating out here on one leg, right? And then all I'm going to do is flex, hit my waist, use my hips as a hinge, and then squeeze up. Okay, try not to bend at the back. All I'm doing is squeezing my glute, one leg. So what I'll do is bang out my reps on one leg, switch to the other leg, and that's your set. Usually 15, 20 reps will get you.